Right, in the aftermath of the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the Grand Prix where the sport itself systematically fixed the outcome of the race and the 2021 championship, and they did so in conjunction with the global media to condition us to believe that it was acceptable in some way. We were fed a narrative. We were fed this notion of all of the teams agreed to a racing finish. Now, that is not allowed. People don't understand it. Okay, they've been told, oh, the teams agreed to a racing finish. After the event validation, that actually all it proves is a fraud, because you cannot contrive an outcome to a sporting event. You are not allowed to have an agreement as to how an event will finish. You can't say an agreement before a knockout game of football saying, oh, let's make sure this game ends and is decided with a penalty shootout. You're not allowed to do that. You've got to play authentic sport. If it's a draw at the end of normal time and the end of extra time, then it is a penalty shootout. But you cannot decide to have a penalty shootout before that event even takes place. Not allowed. Likewise in cricket, you cannot decide, oh, we're going to contrive this ending so that at the end of this 2020 match of cricket, the scores will be tied, so we'll decide it with a super over. That is there in the event of a tie. You cannot construct the tie purposefully to enable this notion of a super over just to set it up for the drama, for the excitement of the crowd. That's contrivance. That's manipulation of sport to contrive an outcome. That is a fraud. People don't understand that. The sport of Formula One has projected to people that it is allowed to do that. It can make its own rules and do that. You can't. Okay? You are selling this as a sport. Therefore, you comply with the rules of that sport, and the rules of the sport aren't there to manipulate a contrivance of an ending. But this is what is put in front of you, this liar put in front of you in the media to convince you of what it is they want you to believe. So this is what Martin Brundle said. And again, this was one of the validatory videos he did in the aftermath of the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where he's finds it a bit uncomfortable. Doesn't find it uncomfortable that a result was manipulated, that Lewis Hamilton was robbed of a record-breaking 8th World Championship. He finds it uncomfortable that what's emerged is the Jonathan Wheatley on the radio saying, we don't have to let them go right around the track, Michael, and then we have a motor race on our hands. Yeah, that's the bit that Martin finds uncomfortable.
Of course, it's really uncomfortable. A lot of people are unhappy, and Hamilton fans, Mercedes fans, and you don't even have to be a Lewis Hamilton fan to think that forever he should be an 8-time world champion, because for me, the really crucial regulation that wasn't carried out is the safety car should have come in at the end of the following lap.
For me, the real crucial regulation that wasn't carried out, it's nothing about for you, Martin, okay? This isn't your opinion, okay? This is a fact, okay? So let's not project this as, oh, in my opinion, for me, the crucial regulation that wasn't carried out was that one. No, let's state as a matter of fact that regulation, which is a crucial regulation, was not carried out. And because it wasn't carried out, that changed the result of that event. And that is not okay. You cannot allow that to stand. But tell us, Martin.
But we also know that unwritten rules and meetings, which shouldn't supersede anything, well, let's try not to have a race finishing under the safety car.
But we all know that there's unwritten rules. What do you mean there's unwritten rules? No, there's not. There's written rules. And if you have a little chat and you are talking about things which aren't in compliance with those written rules, then what are you doing? What are you doing there, Martin?
Lap. But we also know that unwritten rules and meetings, which shouldn't supersede anything, well, let's try not to have a race finishing under the safety car. They're hugely unacceptable. I've met so many fans that were new to Formula One last year, particularly, and fans in general that were hugely upset by what happened. We cannot, and we know that's going to change, we cannot have teams getting at the referee while he...
Oh, yeah. So let's project that that's the problem, shall we, Martin? Let's point the finger over there and say, that's what caused this, because that's what you're paid to do, isn't it, Martin? So these meetings and these conversations and unwritten rules, well, what do they look like? I'm guessing they looked a little bit like this, the Last Supper, the team principals dinner, where somebody's obviously stiffed the lad from McLaren there, telling him that they're all going to turn up in their team kit. And what will have happened is all the team principals are there, sat around the table, and somebody, probably paid by Formula One management, would have brought up the topic of conversation. Oh, lads, what a great season we're having here, okay? Because this season we've gone along with Jonathan Wheatley's mantra of we call that let them race, Michael. Whereby this season we've just allowed Max Verstappen to just drive his car at Lewis Hamilton at every given opportunity and make either crash him or make Lewis have to jump off the track to get out of the way of a collision. Yeah, because we've let that happen this year, what it's enabled Max Verstappen to artificially challenge for this championship, and everybody's excited about it. So what it has resulted in is this: the tension's been building all season, and the championship's gone down to the last race of the season, and will be settled at the last Grand Prix of the season. And as a result of that, the interest in the sport has really shot up. There's a lot more people, in conjunction with these pricks that like watching the drama show Drives to Survive on Netflix. Everybody's really excited about it. Isn't that great for the sport? It's great for all of us, isn't it? Yes, we're all doing super well out of this, because more people are interested in the sport. Then that means the value of the sport has gone up. Yeah, Liberty Media's value's gone up, which means the value of each of our teams has gone up as well. Because obviously, the more people that watch, the more valuable the space is. Lots of people want to be associated with the sport now. All of these big brands want to advertise in the sport so that they get their brand viewed by a global audience, lots more people able to see it. And then people aspire to wanting to buy the merchandise of each of these teams and the brands that are advertising, okay, because they believe them to be associated with Formula One, highly prestigious, and therefore they want a piece of that. And so people want to advertise in this space. It's incredible for us all, win-win. We're all making a lot more money because of the extra interest in this sport. We're doing great, aren't we, lads? Cheers, cha-ching. Anyway, we're going into this last race of the season. A lot of these people that are new to the sport, they won't understand it. And if it just happens to end behind the safety car, we won't get a climactic finish. And we know a lot of people are tuning in, because they want a climax. And what we want to avoid disappointing them. So what we want to avoid is if for example there was a safety car finish, they probably wouldn't understand it, and they probably then would say, oh, Formula One's perhaps not for me. It didn't provide the excitement that I thought it was going to. And so and they probably wouldn't understand that. How about we explain it to them? Don't be silly. Don't explain anything to people. Just that's not our job. That's not our job to explain it to people. It's our job to keep them excited, okay? To keep them aroused, okay? To bring them to climax. That's our job. And the other thing that is part of our job, in addition to trying to have sporting success, our job is to answer to the shareholders, those people that have put their money into this team and want a return on that money. They want a dividend paid on those shares. So our job is to make our team as valuable as possible. And the way that we do that is to attract as many eyes as possible, create as much money as possible at the expense of any kind of integrity. But as long as we're making money, we're doing all right, aren't we, lads? Yeah, cheers, cha-ching. So, where possible, ideally, what we could do with is we don't really want a safety car finish, do we? Because that will, like I say, a lot of people will, they'll just look at that and go, wow, that was a bit boring. That didn't provide the excitement that I was hoping for. So where possible, shall we all agree that there should be some sort of, ideally want to finish this event with a racing finish? Yeah, sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan. Right, cheers. Right, whose round is it? Probably this guy. There's the video here. That night in Abu Dhabi, Formula One short film. And I've tried to go through that and do a video, but it won't let me upload it onto YouTube due to the copyright issues of displaying footage of that night. But this is supposedly footage of Michael Masi in race control that night. You know, in that little shed on his own, under so much pressure, having phone calls ringing all the time with people trying to put pressure on him, and him doesn't know what to do. Oh, it's all too much for Michael Masi. Or is he just in an air-conditioned room with at least 9 other members of FIA personnel? FIA personnel that know the rules of the sport. Otherwise, if they don't, what are they doing there? What is the FIA doing employing people that don't understand motorsport and is putting them in FIA race control if they don't understand motorsport and its processes? So Michael Masi is surrounded by all of these people, has access to all of these screens displaying all of this information, all of this data, knows the rules of the sport, has gone through the training program with Charlie Whiting, knows the situation, have got years of experience of motorsport prior to doing this. You know, chosen because should be able to handle the pressure of being an official at elite sport. So, no excuses there, Michael. No? No. Oh, it was all too much for you. But you didn't know what was going on, did you, Michael? It was all too much, under so much pressure. Those lads around you in FIA race control, like 10 of you or so in FIA race control, they weren't able to help, okay? They couldn't take the calls from the team principals and just tell them to shut up. No. What happened to the footage of this? Because we've got footage of you in race control now.
See all eyes on the message board here.
Yeah, so this footage of you in race control and race control room in Abu Dhabi 2021, where's that gone? Because we want to see it from those last 5 laps. We want to see who had a gun to whose head in those last 5 laps of Abu Dhabi 2021. Anyway, that was your round. So the teams have agreed in one of those unwritten rules and meetings that Martin was telling us about. But let me give you an example. And let's look at the example of not you, Martin. Football. The Premier League. The whole league season is pretty much played out, and we're down to the last game of the season. Now, what's at stake? Okay, just like the Formula One season, the Championship is going to go down to the last game of the season. And what are the potential outcomes? Well, the potential outcomes are who can win the league. Man City or Liverpool could win the league. Now, Liverpool in second place, they're going to shit on the Villa. They're going to play the Villa and they're going to win 7-0 because it's the Villa, isn't it? So that's going to take Liverpool to 92 points with a goal difference of plus 73. So that's going to happen. That's a sure thing that's going to happen. So that means Manchester City have to win their last game of the season to make sure that they are champions. Okay, that's what has to happen for Manchester City. Now, who are Manchester City playing? Well, Manchester City, they're playing their city rivals, Manchester United. Now, what's at stake for Manchester United? Well, Manchester United are on 58 points and are clinging on to that prestigious Europa Conference League spot. Okay, something that they've been desperate to achieve for such a long period of time without success. So, Manchester United, well, who is up against them for that last remaining spot? Well, West Ham here. Well, West Ham. Who are West Ham? West Ham are away at Leicester at the wrong end of the 69, and West Ham are bound to win that one. That will take West Ham to 59 points, with a goal difference already of plus 11. That's only going to get better by winning. So a draw for Man United would only take them to 59 points, means that they're going to lose sixth position. They're going to miss out on that UEFA Conference League position. So Manchester United need to win as well. Both Manchester clubs need to win that last game that they're playing each other. On either, Manchester City will win the championship, they'll win the league, or Manchester United will secure that European spot. A draw is no good to them. A draw will mean Man City finish second and Man United miss out on qualification for Europe. So a draw is no good whatsoever to anybody. So what shall we do about that? Shall we have a meeting and some written rules? Well, yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll have a meeting and some written rules. We'll get a man of integrity, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, billionaire. Made his money out of petrol, and we'll get him, and we'll get him to have a chat. This well, you can tell just by looking at him. He's a sir. He's a man of integrity, a respectful man, a fit and proper person to own a Formula One team. No, they don't bother with checks like that. A fit and proper person to own a football team, isn't he? Is Sir Jim? And he has a chat with this lad. Now, yes, this lad's not a sir. You can tell just by looking at him. Don't trust him. You can tell that just by looking at him. And who knows? He could be a threat to Western democracy. Because they all tend to be, don't they? Anyway, so these two lads have a chat. The man of integrity, the real man there, the sir, the knight of the realm, and this lad. They have a chat, and what they do, they decide that a draw is no good to either Manchester United or Manchester City. Okay, and either way, it's beneficial for one team to win. Either Manchester City win and they become champions, or Manchester United win and they qualify for Europe. A draw means neither team get anything. So they have an agreement that, right, the game doesn't end with a draw. They keep playing until one team wins. Okay, both teams, they've decided that that's okay. So what we do, we get to the last game of the season. And Liverpool, they've shit on the Villa. They've won 7-0. They've jumped to first place in the table, but the Manchester City game versus Manchester United, that's still going on. And we get to the 90th minute, and the fourth official puts up the board saying there's 4 minutes of additional time to be added on for stoppages. And then 4 minutes play out, and it's still 0-0. And the referee carries on playing, and they carry on playing, and they carry on playing. And eventually, 15 minutes later, 15 minutes after the game should have ended and they're still playing, Manchester City score a goal and win the game, and they become champions of the Premier League, everybody. Aguero! You couldn't make it up, could you? Okay, so this is what happened. Manchester City are the champions, okay? And it's really uncomfortable, isn't it, Martin? It's really uncomfortable. The Liverpool fans, well, they're just Liverpool fanboys, aren't they? Ha ha, Liverpool fanboys. Yeah, you keep crying, Liverpool. Keep crying. Ha ha, ha ha, cry more. There's going to be a lot of hatred there. And the experts of the sport, these pundits, these Sky Sports presented experts, are going to validate that. They're going to say, oh, wow, the referee in this Manchester United Manchester City game, well, he was under so much pressure. He was having Pep Guardiola on one bench say, keep playing, referee, until we score. And he was having Eric Ten Hag on the other bench saying, keep playing, referee, until we score. And the referee just caved into oh so much pressure and kept playing until one of those teams scored. But we all know that there's agreements and unwritten rules. But what will happen now, rather than do anything about it, rather than expose that corruption has taken place, rather than expose that Liverpool were robbed out of winning that championship because the rules were broken, the FIA will do a report into it. UEFA will do a report into it. FIFA will do a report into it. They'll get a 12-year-old to write it. Okay, they'll take 2.5, 3 months to do it, and then just as next season's about to start, they'll then drop that report and you'll have all have moved on. And in the meantime, we'll get the media to lie to you all to divert your attention. Say, oh yeah, well, perhaps the reason that Manchester City won the league there was, I think it might have been the boots that they were wearing gave them a bit of an advantage in those last 15 minutes against Manchester United. And had Manchester United been wearing different boots in those last 15 minutes, you know, they were foolish really to stay wearing them boots. Otherwise, it could have been Manchester United that would have won that and got their place in Europe, wouldn't it? And that's really the key here, isn't it? The silly Manchester United for wearing them boots, and that's the problem. And maybe it's the energy drinks that they were drinking, and I think the energy drinks that Manchester City were drinking gave them the edge, so that then when they played those extra 15 minutes, they had the extra energy to make sure that they won that game. Hang on a minute. No, we're playing under rules here. The game of football is 90 minutes. The Liverpool game, they were playing the 90 minutes like every other game of the season that you play, you know, plus your time added on. Yeah, that's you play to rules. You don't just add on 15 minutes, an unlimited amount of time until somebody scores. That's the key. Oh no, the media won't tell you that. The media don't explain that, just in the same way they don't explain the safety car rules to Formula One and what they're for. Instead, they lie about the purpose. Oh, that's just to get them out of the way of the race between the leaders. And so they're put up in front of you, these media experts, to lie to you, to validate the situation, to get you to accept it. But actually, what they do, they interject with falsehoods and absolute irrelevance to cause conflict in social media so that the space is still buzzing and they're still making money out of it. They're inciting argument, they're inciting conflict, and they're watching it burn as people get abused online. And then 6 months later, they come out with the hashtag against online abuse. That abuse that they created and fueled, the filthy scum. So, what happened there? Oh, there was an agreement by these two men of integrity, these fit and proper people, to own sporting teams. You know, because Sir Jim here, he's got the resources to reveal the fraud of Abu Dhabi, and he never has. He never has. But he's a fit and proper person to have ownership of a football team, isn't he? Is Sir Jim. Sir Jim, Knight of the Realm. But, you know, like I say, the governing body, FA, UEFA, FIFA, they're going to do their report. And they're going to tell us. They're going to tell us about it. They're going to get their 12-year-old to write this, which I'm going to go through with you at some time. We'll go down to point 32 today, and point 32 will tell us it was also considered that the decisions regarding the safety car at the end of the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix likely took into this is the facts. Okay, so the facts. So tell us. Executive summary report to the FIA World Motorsport Council. The facts. Right? And multiple roles and responsibilities of the race director, radio communications. And as part of all this, you know, where it's explained facts is likelihoods. Anyway, took into account previous discussions, including at meetings of the F1 SAC, the F1 Commission and F1 team managers, that make clear the F1 team's preference to end races under green flag race conditions. rather than behind a safety car when safe to do so. The F1 drivers' consultation confirmed that finishing a race under green flag racing conditions remains desirable, but that safety should always come first. Oh, they confirmed that it's desirable, but safety should. Oh, thanks for that. We would like this to end we'd like this to end with a race, but we accept that safety is important. Yes, it is. Yes, you want marshals to go out onto that track and risk their life to remove debris that has been put onto that track by drivers who have crashed. Oh, yeah, but we want a race. So what is it? Because you're not going to have cars travelling around there at 150 miles an hour, risking the lives of people being out on track, making those conditions safe, because that in itself is unsafe, isn't it? Yeah. So put your desires away. Okay, this is what has to happen. It's nothing to do with desire-driven motivation. It's what has to happen. If, for safety reasons, it is not possible to withdraw the safety car, the F1 teams confirm that they would accept finishing the race under safety car condition. Oh, they'd accept that, would they? The teams will accept the rules of the sport, will they? Oh, if it's not possible for a result to be had in the Manchester City Manchester United game, and that game is on course to end as a draw, both teams accepted that the game could end as a draw. Oh, that's good of you, Manchester City and Manchester United, to accept the rules of the sport, to accept the rules of the competition that you've entered into. Yeah, that's really really charitable of you. Thank you for that. But not only did the FIA do this lie of a report, they got their contracted broadcaster to tell us about it. The man that informs us is not the expert. It's the village idiot, socks and sandals man, Ted Kravitz, man casting the role. He's not the former world champion expert here. It's not the presented expert of the sport with 40 years of experience, the voice of the sport, Martin Brundle. And it's not Lazenby here, the anchorman there. That got the job because he went to university with a lad that got a job at Sky Sports, and he got him in there, and he passed the screen test. Now we've got the village idiot. So what's Ted going to tell us about it?
They drop it just before qualifying. It's taken him 100 days.
Yeah, you couldn't make it up, could you?
If you summarise, it's 7 pages long?
Yeah, everybody can have a look at it. It's on the FIA website, FIA.com,
and you know that nobody will.
so have a look for it.
Of the 108.7 million people that you defrauded on global television, how many people have actually gone through that document with a fine-tooth comb and realised what a lie it is? Very few, I would suggest. That's why I'm going to do it on this channel.
For yourself, but the biggest thing is that the result of the championship hasn't changed. Max Verstappen still won the race, and you look surprised, Damon.
I thought you were going to make some great announcement. That was earth-shattering announcement there.
Is that?
Yeah, that actually is surprising. So what you've done, you've maintained a result where clearly and categorically that result changed. It hinged on the rules being broken, because if you complied with the rules, Sir Lewis Hamilton would be an 8-time world champion. There could be no changes in that running order behind the safety car, and that had to be a safety car finish. They broke the rules, and that changed the outcome. And then you've maintained that outcome. Well, that's outrageous. Why on earth would you maintain that outcome? But we're all having a little laugh about it, aren't we? Ha 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 ha! Oh, ha 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 ha! Who are you laughing at?
Unsurprisingly, Max Verstappen is still the 2021 world champion, but it does go into lots of detail. It lays out the key facts of what happened. It explains that one of the things.
So he's telling you it goes into lots of detail, and it lays out the key facts. It doesn't.
That happened in those 4 minutes between 6:27 and 6:31, where Michael Masi, the previous race director, said that lapped cars wouldn't be able to unlap themselves.
Yeah, the report goes into detail about that, but what we don't get is the evidence. We don't get that footage, what I was talking about earlier when we this exists. Is it this one? We don't get to see that. That would clear everything up, wouldn't it? That would clear everything up. But no, we just get their written version of what was actually taking place there. And we get Ted here telling us about it. Tell us, Ted.
and that they would, was that he received that bargaining from Christian Horner and Jonathan Wheatley on the team radio. So they're kind of implying that had an effect. But
what the FIA are saying is in that match that the referee didn't end after the 4 minutes of additional time had been played, and he kept on playing for the extra 15 minutes. It was the bargaining. It was Pep Guardiola on the touchline saying, "Ref, keep playing until we score." And it was Eric Ten Hag going, "Ref, keep playing until we score." And it was that bargaining from the managers on the sideline that made that referee keep playing until one of those teams scored. That's why the referee didn't apply the rules of the sport, and that could be the factor here. Rightio.
That's one of the key findings. The other key finding is that the role of the
Great key finding there.
race director had got too pressurised, so he needed help. The radio communication...
The race director, it's too much pressure. He needs help, because he's not got any help there, has he? He needs help, this lad. He needs help.
Between Masi and Horner and Wheatley, and indeed Masi and Mercedes, had a negative impact on the decision making. I think we kind of knew that already. The analysis shows that there can be different interpretations of the safety car unlapping procedures.
No, it doesn't. Okay, that was put forward as a lie and to actually pollute your minds. When you've been conditioned to accept a falsehood, how damaging is that? And now they're confirming, oh yes, it's evident that there can be different interpretations. Absolutely not. As I've proven when I've given you the exact reasons for that procedure, that these fail to ever give you, and that the governing body of the sport has failed to ever tell you. Understand the lies that you are being lied to with.
The old any cars can overtake, and then all cars should overtake unlap themselves and overtake the safety car.
The old, yeah. What's that? What's the reason behind that? Is that to get them out of the way of the race between the leaders, lads, or is it the impact it had on Lando Norris when he is in a race with Pierre Gasly, and how that is impacted compared with the cars that Lewis Hamilton hasn't made it past at that stage? Is that what it's all about? Tell us. Work that through. Make the fans understand. Okay, explain it to people. You know, these new people that are aroused by Drive to Survive, that they don't know, that you're abusing their minds by not informing them and lying to them. Yeah, help them rather than just take advantage of them. Take advantage of vulnerable people.
And indeed, the timing of when the race should restart after that happens. So while they admit...
It's not up for debate.
Here that the race director called the safety car back into the pit lane without it having completed the additional lap as...
Oh, they admitted that? Okay, so the governing body has admitted that something that took place actually took place. Oh, thanks for that. Yes, we admit that that safety car came into the pits. Because none of us knew that the safety car went back into the pits, and thank you for admitting that that's what it did.
Required by the sporting regulations, it doesn't admit that that was a mistake. So
it won't admit that it's a mistake. Well, we know, right, that you brought that in a lap too early. Oh, but we're not admitting that that's a mistake. You brought that in a lap too early. Yeah, but we're not admitting that that's not a mistake. Ridiculous.
But does not admit that Masi incorrectly applied his own rules.
His own rules. His own rules. The sport does not admit that the race director misapplied his own rules. And this is what this validating media... Oh, we're all a bit confused by
regulations. It doesn't admit that that was a mistake. So it does not admit that Masi incorrectly applied his own rules.
Okay. Right. They're not Michael Masi's own rules. They are the rules of the sport. And whether or not the governing body of the sport admits that what was done was wrong or not, it doesn't deflect from the fact that what was done was wrong. That is proof that what you did as a governing body because you are responsible for the man that you employ as that race director. He is an FIA race director. You are the FIA. What he did was wrong. I don't care whether you admit that or not. What you did was wrong. But you're allowed to write your own report about this. You're allowed to do your own review. Oh, we police ourselves because we're the FIA. Yeah, you'll see. You'll see what's going to happen here.
Interestingly, because I guess to do that would open a can of worms, which we've already talked plenty about.
Oh, it would open a can of worms. Let's see who these worms are. Let's see who these worms are. Because they are worse than worms. Worms are useful.
There are other things. Michael Masi's decision on to try to end, the impulse behind the whole thing. Why was Masi so keen to end the race under green flag conditions and not under a safety car? That he might have been, unduly swayed by that was the process demanded by.
So he's a corrupt official. He might have been unduly swayed. Oh, he's a corrupt official, isn't he? Not applying the rules of the sport. Oh, yeah. Oh, he was under so much pressure. Oh, it's horrible that you're all being nasty to Michael Masi now. It's horrible. All you people giving Michael Masi abuse. Look at you. You're all nasty people for giving this man abuse. No, he's a corrupt official. If he wasn't corrupt, he wouldn't be receiving abuse. What he's done is a criminal act. He's been identified as being a criminal. Oh, don't be nasty to Michael Masi. Don't be nasty. No, he's a criminal. Okay? And he's got away without penalty for his criminality so far. Oh, but he signed a legal agreement, so he doesn't have to say anything, apparently. No. That what that means is he's been given money by the FIA to stay quiet. And if he opens his mouth and says something, then they will get that money back because he's been given that money on that basis. We'll give you this if you don't tell anybody what really happened here. That's called a non-disclosure agreement. When you come in front of a criminal trial, you can't say, well, I'm not telling you because I've signed a non-disclosure agreement. Not a problem. You don't have to tell us. The evidence is there of what you actually did. That's criminal. So therefore, you're guilty. Jail time. Non-disclosure agreement or not. Disclose all you like, Masi. The evidence is there, what you did. Okay? Well, the evidence has probably been destroyed of who had a gun to your head. What pressure you were under. But if you don't want to tell anybody, you want to keep the money that they gave you as part of your non-disclosure agreement and just don't disclose what was really going on, fine. The consequences for that will be what they'll be, Michael. That's what we call a race on our hands, Michael.
By the FI Commission, the F1 Commission and the F1 team managers, and it goes to the big four recommendations that we know already, don't we?
The big four. Oh, the learning points from what we saw took place in Abu Dhabi. Let's go on a learning walk, everybody. Oh yes.
4 recommendations for change are that there's going to be a VAR style room where the race director can get help.
Right, everybody. The 4 recommendations. Well, there's going to be a VAR style room introduced. What's this then, lads? You got 4 stewards that adjudicate on the incidents in that race, and they've got like video monitors in front of them that they can watch replays of an incident to determine whether there's an infringement. Video assistance to make refereeing decisions, VAR, that they've had for decades in this sport. Literally, they've had that ability for decades and use that for decades. They're gonna introduce that as a learning point from Abu Dhabi 2021. They are going to
change. There's going to be a VAR style room where the race director can get help.
Incredible! That's going to make all the difference. Thanks, lads.
No radio communications except innocent questions from the team wall to the race director.
No radio communications broadcast to us. Then radio communications still go on, but they're just not broadcast to the world anymore because they don't want us being able to realise what's really going on.
They're going to reassess the unlapping procedures.
Oh, what happened there? Oh, we've changed one word now and it's all different. No, it's not. No, it what? Actually, that word change has made them worse. Okay. This notion of any doesn't mean all. Well, when we talk about the last lapped car and things like that, any car that's been lapped by the leader is required to pass the safety car. And once the last lapped car has passed the leader and the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap. And that is still the same. And the only word they changed was any, and they changed it to all. And they want to tell you that has changed the meaning of that whole rule and that whole procedure. And it hasn't, not in the slightest. It's actually made it worse. And the reason being is the word any was utilised because it reflected the fact that any car that qualified to do so, any car that met the criteria, that being it was lapped at the point in time that the safety incident occurred, or within the first period of the safety car before that safety car had crossed the safety car line for the second time. Okay, so as long as you were categorised as lapped within that time period, you were eligible to be released for that unlapping procedure. If you got yourself lapped later on in that safety car process, you're not eligible to unlap. That was bad strategy or misfortune that got you then lapped during that safety car situation. You're not eligible. So the wording, all cars, doesn't actually apply, does it? But the clever lads at the FIA, oh, the lawyers are getting involved. They've written a legal document. Well, no, because you've used the word all there. And the reason that it was used any in the first instance was to reflect the fact any car that met the qualifying criteria, which isn't all cars necessarily, is it? So any doesn't mean all, lads, does it? And there's a reason. There's a reason. But thanks for that. Thanks for explaining that.
There's going to be a new race director management team, which we already know. A couple of new things on that recommendations. There's going to be a new F1 sporting director on the FIA side, and they recommend that the FIA get themselves a lawyer.
yeah, get yourself. It's not going to help. It's not going to help. You know, you can construct any fallacy of an argument. You can make any excuse you like, but it's not going to in any way absolve you from consequence for your fraud, for your corruption, for being scum.
There's going to be a legal counsel to help them out in previous ones. So it also.
And what you'll be doing is you'll be attempting to subvert justice. You'll be attempting to pervert the course of justice. And I will expose you. I will expose you as lawyers who are attempting to pervert the course of justice. And there is a consequence for that. So those of you that will become FIA lawyers, good luck. Think of your futures. Think of how you want your life to go.
It talks about human error as to why only 5 people were able to unlap themselves and not all of them. And it says that there was human error in that. So it seems that somebody made a mistake. What it doesn't do, of course.
Oh, it's just a mistake. The referee playing those extra 15 minutes, he just made a mistake.
The question still outstanding from this, Simon, is that we seemingly haven't heard from Michael Masi.
You know, he looked at his watch and he couldn't read his watch correctly. You know, he didn't know. You know what? Even identifying the digits on that stopwatch is not as easy as you might think, says Martin.
See, there's no quotes in here or reference to further evidence from Michael Masi. What was he thinking, and whether there was any other influence or input in those 4 minutes that he had to make his decision.
Well, thank
There's no reference to whether or not... what was that again, Ted? Take us through that again, Ted.
And whether there was any other influence or input in those 4 minutes that he had to make his decision.
So that's what the FIA report is telling you. There's no reference to that, but we could get the footage of that, couldn't we? We could see what was going on, but no, we got the 12-year-old to write the report rather than just show us the evidence. But There's a lot of a cover-up going on there, isn't there? There's quite a big cover-up going on there, lads and ladies.
Thank you. Why is it taking so long, and does it satisfy you?
I guess it had to be sanctioned by the World Motorsport Council.
Oh yes, we'll come to the World Motorsport Council in a bit, Martin. The World Motorsport Council
that met here, but it feels like something that should have been put to bed in January, doesn't it? There's nothing new in there that we didn't already know.
Oh, nothing new, nothing to see here, says the expert.
For those of us that were there through the season, through the last few minutes of that race, and I think what happened was almost inevitable in the end when you
What are you talking about? It was inevitable.
Analyse there's a lot of levels to that. I think the other thing that is in there,
there's a lot of levels. We're not in a multi-story car park here, Martin. What are you talking about?
It lists the three groups of people that asked for races to be finished under the including the team managers, the F1 Sporting Commission, and it also lists the drivers as well. There's another body in there that asked for, where safe and where possible, not to finish under a safety car.
Yeah, but that wasn't a rule.
Oh, thanks for that. Thanks, the expert, for clarifying those three groups of people that asked for races. Sir Jim Radcliffe, he asked for that game to end with one team winning. So that's valid, isn't it, Martin? Yeah, you tell us, Martin. Tell us about those important facts there, Martin.
Listed three.
Oh, they're not facts, by the way. They're irrelevant, but, tell us, Martin.
Three groups of people that asked for races to be finished under the including the team managers, the F1 Sporting Commission, and it also lists the drivers as well. There's another body in there that asked for, where safe and where possible, not to finish under a safety car.
Yeah, but that wasn't a
Oh dear.
rule. I mean,
no, it's not real.
The new.
But that's not. No, that's not a rule. No, yeah, move on. No, it's not a rule. Not a rule, is it?
Thing is,
not to finish under a safety car.
Yeah, but that wasn't a rule. I mean,
no, it's not real.
The new thing is
absolutely right, Martin. It's not a rule, is it? It's not a rule, so therefore it's irrelevant. So why are we talking about it? Let's focus on what's relevant. What's relevant is the governing body, in the form of the race director, broke the rules of the sport. What was the impact of that? Well, that changed the outcome of that sport. Can that be allowed to stand? No, that's atrocious. That has robbed the watching audience of a valid outcome to that event, which was on course for Sir Lewis Hamilton to win it, and with it his 8th World Championship. You can't allow the governing body to change its rules and manufacture a different champion. That is what took place. That is why it's so outrageous. Instead, let's talk about all the different things that aren't things.
is that that human error led to the fact that not all cars were allowed to unlap themselves. Well,
and let's just say, oh yeah, just somebody made a mistake. Yeah, somebody just was, walking along the street, tripped, and the knife that they were carrying went into some. Oh, they just made a mistake. It was just an error, wasn't it? Nobody's to blame here. It was just human error, wasn't it? Not a problem. Move on, everybody. Move on.
Well, hang on. Who made this human error? And could they not interpret what all of us could see as to who was unlapped and who wasn't?
Yeah.
So that's an odd one.
I mean,
it doesn't name the person who made this human error. Was it Masi? Was it his assistant? We don't know this.
Okay.
Yeah, and they won't show us the footage of Masi in race control, will they?
Oh, well, I mean, there are a lot of disillusioned fans. There still are a lot of this.
Oh, let's focus on the disillusioned fans. Let's pretend that we empathise with you, the disillusioned fan.
Disillusioned fan. That's not lost on us.
Yeah.
As we said, I mean, it's not going to change the result.
No.
That's.
Oh, let's just shrug our shoulders and say, oh yeah, we're with you. We're with you. It's not going to change anything. Then why aren't you holding them to account? Why aren't you holding their feet to the fire? Why aren't you exposing the fact that they're all corrupt? This isn't a proper process that they're going through here. These are all lies. Why aren't you dismantling that FIA report? No, you're not paid to do that, are you? You're paid to validate. You're paid to sell people the show. You're salesmen. Mind conditioners.
hard and fast now. But what do you make of
That's the point. It's not going to change the result, and I think.
Yeah, and I think it's not going to change the result. It's not going to change the result. Let's come off of this one for now. What we're going to do is have a look at the people that passed that off. The World Motorsport Council. You can look on the FIA website and it tells you about it. Okay, they have a meeting at least 3 times a year, and it's got who's involved, and you've got a list of who's there, and it goes. The WMSC, the World Motorsport Council, in its administration of international motorsport, prioritises improvements in safety and environmental standards across all forms of the sport. So it prioritises improvements in safety by enabling Max Verstappen to drive in a manner where he drives his car at another car without penalty. It enables Max Verstappen to not follow the rules of engagement of motor racing because the World Motorsport Council prioritises safety. Is that what you're doing there, lads? Is that, or are you just gaslighting? Are you just saying something and doing the opposite? Abusers. That's what you are. What else do you do? It adopts common regulations across the various series and nurtures motorsport's roots by developing all forms of the sport, especially among the youth and in developing countries. So you're nurturing the youth, aren't you? The World Motorsport Council. You're nurturing the youth by setting them the example of safety, teaching them how to drive, which is going to result in greater injuries and deaths to drivers when those kids try and emulate the kind of manoeuvres that you allowed Max Verstappen to get away with. And you're nurturing them and developing them with sporting conduct that breaks the rules and displays zero integrity and manufactures outcomes. And that is you developing all forms of the so-called sport, especially amongst the youth. That's the role that you're doing. That would be child abuse, wouldn't it? That would be child abuse. And here they are, look. This is the World Motorsport Council. There they are, all valuable people, all with the credentials to, impact the direction of motorsport across the globe. All highly intelligent men in suits, and the odd woman there. I think Bernie Ecclestone's Brazilian wife is in there. What first attracted you to billionaire Bernie Ecclestone? I think the guy in the centre there, in the Arab dress, this guy here, if you watch Drive to Survive, I think he was the one that was pictured on Drive to Survive as speaking to Christian Horner, saying, make sure you beat them fucking bastards. I think that's what he said to Christian Horner, referring to the Mercedes team. And he is on the if that's the same guy, is he on the FIA World Motorsport Council, wanting Red Bull to beat the Mercedes team? Oh, is there any conflict of interest there, I wonder? Maybe some of you can do your research and find out if that's the same guy. It might well be. It's this guy in the centre. If you go back and watch Drive to Survive for that 2021 season, some of you will know that bit of footage that I'm talking about. There is a guy that looks very similar to him, if not the same, that speaks to Horner and encourages Horner in that manner. But this is the World Motorsport Council, the FIA's World Motorsport Council, and they're the people that signed off the 12-year-old's report into Abu Dhabi that I am going to go through at some point. Here it is. Look, down 42 points. Okay, absolutely ridiculous. It's available for you to see. And they signed it off.
Oi, Churchill! Could you save me money on car insurance?
Oh.
Oi, Churchill! Could you save me money on car insurance?
Oh, yes.
Just by...
Yes. Oh, yes. So that's what they did. They all had a vote and they all said, oh, yes. Oh, yes. The valuable people, these are. These are people of integrity. These are people that are put up in front of you as being the World Motorsport Council. Yeah, look at the prestige that all of these individuals have for being part of the World Motorsport Council. You know, you might know some of these people. You know, high-powered people that can go through a report and can't obliterate it, can't pick it to shreds. They can't go, what on earth is this? They just say, oh yes. Right, this is part 1. Okay, I'm going to do a part 2 where I'm going to demonstrate this notion of all teams agreeing. All teams agreed to a racing finish. And I'm going to obliterate that using what actually happened in Abu Dhabi. So whilst, you know, we've got the all the disciples there sat round having their last supper, whilst we've got this so-called agreement between the teams that they're all agreed to this notion of a racing finish, I'm going to disprove that using what actually happened in the race and show you what decisions were made by each of those teams that reflect what truly was going on. So make sure you hit subscribe and hit the bell notification, because when I drop that video, you'll see what was really going on in Abu Dhabi and what those teams' decisions were based on where they were in that race and whether or not they were able to. And they didn't all just say, oh, we're going to go racing here regardless, so it doesn't matter about any other factor. All that matters is we just need to be on those soft compound tyres because we're going to go racing. So we need to be on the fastest tyre and forget everything else. That didn't happen. And I'm going to evidence all of that, evidencing what was going through their heads in terms of their decision making, which would obliterate this notion of agreement to a racing finish. It would obliterate that notion. It's a complete fallacy, but not only that, it's an irrelevance. You can't have an agreement that actually holds true. You can have a desire, but that desire needs to still comply with the rules. And if it doesn't comply with the rules, it's irrelevant. So that's what it'll be proven. What actually happened will demonstrate fully that that desire is an utter irrelevance. Anyway, that will do on this one. Thank you for your time. Start understanding, well, most of you do that have subscribed to the channel anyway. Most of you actually are seeing the actual contrivance and how much absolute horseshit we've been fed over the Abu Dhabi 2021 Grand Prix. And we can identify every single aspect of it and absolutely obliterate it in the manner that I'm doing just with this one irrelevant example. But when you can do that with everything presented, it shows you that the whole thing was a contrivance. And what's being done about it? That's the most outrageous thing. What is being done about it? There are authorities that are tasked to investigate crime, and we've got law enforcement agencies which are then tasked with bringing perpetrators to justice and ensuring that these perpetrators are made to pay consequence for their breaking of the law, for their criminality. And they're not doing anything. Why is that? And the media, the people that inform the masses, the people that expose things such as this, what are they doing about it? They've done nothing but actively serve to cover it up. Sky Sports are contracted by Liberty Media to perform that role. That is how filthy they are. The BBC, who should be independent, should have journalists capable of exposing truth and exposing the reality behind the lies. What are they doing? Andrew Benson of the BBC, all he has done is served to cover up the fraud. Every journalist that has reported on this has just served to cover up the fraud. Does journalism really exist? Are there any real journalists? Or if you get a job as a journalist, do you then just have to comply with the narrative that those that have got the wealth to own a media firm want to actually give to the population? The version of events and the manner of which they want to tell them to convince the masses to accept it to be that way. Your minds are being controlled. Your beliefs are being controlled, okay, by those that want to tell the story the certain way. And that gives you your impression of what that situation actually is. And that's not the truth. That's not the truth. Start waking up. Thank you for your time.